Welcome back, everybody. Susan loves humidity. Welcome back to the canyon. Welcome back to a day where we live, where the weather app sits atop a throne of lies. Where, last week it was scheduled to rain Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then it was, just Monday, and then it rained all day Tuesday. About 36 hours straight. It is now Wednesday. You'll still hear the little soft pitter patter. Almost 48 hours straight. We just didn't get a dump like we did last time. So I'm left with two options. We might as well call the day what it is. It is supposed to be Wheelin' Wednesday. I just did a walk around out on the course back there. No. Pond 2 is down about this far from full. So the water's about 14 inches deep. It's just a series of interconnecting ponds with rock obstacles sticking up out of them. And honestly, I don't want to do the hour and a half of cleanup after something like that. So it's a fabricating Wednesday. I don't really have anything to weld today. So we're just going to hop right into, it came from the workbench, volume, it's on the box, 32, volume 32. This is episode 2. We had the episode where we separated the parts, the little combo episode. Coming up during the live stream, we are going to do some of the build of It Came From the Workbench 33. This is, of course, 32, the Zoku Phoenix that came out of the Falcon Phoenix. That body is still here. That body is still here. I don't know how many people have said, I'll trade you this, trade you this, trade you this. And I'm like, yeah, go ahead, send it. Nothing ever shows up. I'm going to be stuck hanging that thing from the rafters in here. So here's problem of the day. If we can get, and by we, I mean us as a collective, if we can get this sorted today, I will feel like we have made headway. And what that is there's the big old tank of an alloy with the brass and everything. That's a heavy axle. And here we've got the behind the axle steering adapter, which means we're shortening this. And to shorten that, to do the behind the axle kit, we've got the shorty skid, which I've not even opened anything out of the Zoku yet. There is the shorty skid. So as you can see, it needs to be a little bit shorter. Well, naturally. Also, this gearbox has all the machined rear gears. There's the standoffs. There are the machined front gears. There is the lightweight motor plate. And I think and hope that that's it for the gearbox. Yes, that is it. That is it for the gearbox. There's the servos. There's the drive shafts. There's the shocks. Wheel hubs. There's the servo. We will need the servo, actually. Oh, we will need the motor. We're doing another S20. This is an 1800 kV. So, you might notice one thing conspicuously missing from the pile here, and that is, let's just get these out of the way. That is behind the axle, the plastics kit from Vanquish. Now, I'm pretty sure there's one part that we're missing, because the aluminum comes with this bracket, but I think there's another piece. I think there's another piece. I think there's a plastic piece that you have to, these two holes right here go to a little plastic under bracket. That goes right like that. I don't know if it's necessary. I don't know. I feel like that piece, there's a little piece that goes down. I feel like that little down piece is necessary. We did not order the behind the axle plastics kit. It's like $45. I was like, because it comes with the shorter top shaft, and I said, in my divine hubris, I said, oh, I can shorten that top shaft down myself. That's no problem. I can just fabricate new ones of these. He had already ordered a set, so we've already got those. I was like, I can do most of this and it occurred to me, honestly, a couple days ago, I was like, well, you know what? That's a slipper. You need that many Ugga to get it off. They tightened it down so far. You see the warping in there? They, can we see? The bits of the nut are actually biting through the little elastomer. So what? Just guys, just put an eliminator on it. It's not a slipper. You've tightened it down so tight that you've damaged some of the parts. There's already a little bit of galling on the inside of the inner slipper disc. So that's fun. That's fun. I am going to, therefore, I have small goals because I had hopes. I had recording hopes, and those have been dashed by the weather that won't leave me alone. So, if I, as an individual, and us as a group, if I can get this gearbox modified to the point where I can attach it to this skid, and I'm gonna, I have to order the BTA kit anyway for that little plastic bracket. In true Vanquish fashion, they don't give you the little underpiece here. That is Vanquish in a nutshell. We're not going to give you the pieces you need. You're going to have to buy both. If you want an alloy servo mount for your behind the axle, and you want to run behind the axle, it's going to cost you well over $100. Just, you know, I don't even have to unscrew this because I don't need that anymore. You're just going to have to deal with it. That's how it is. That is how it is, and that's how it will be moving forward. So I will need to disassemble this all the way, because I have to replace all the gears inside of it. I just want to get to where I can pull the top shaft out, and then we have a very simplified method that we're going to use for purposes of attachment, which is I'm going to take this motor plate. I'm so angry about the bracket, the axle bracket, to a near irrational. Okay. Did someone forget to put the screws in, and then they did a little cut to fit the screws in? I don't know what happened. We are going to bolt the motor plate to this, just like that. I am going to get this pulled apart, and then we are going to guess fit this in order to get the top shaft to be the correct length. Actually, this goes this way. So we're gonna guess how much we have to shorten that, and I'm going to shorten these. Where'd they go? I'm going to shorten the standoffs. I'm going to shorten the standoffs first after I get the thing pulled apart. And what I will do is I will assemble it without the bearing. It seems a perfectly good option. I mean, here's the deal. I am left in an excellent position because also when you buy the kit, it has a hole in it. It doesn't have flats. So you would also have to purchase the Vanquish slipper eliminator as well. So realistically, then you have to get a motor that's specifically, it's $200 to put the servo behind the axle. To put the servo on top of the axle, you just slap on a plastic bracket, and you're done. So I am trying to mitigate some of that $200 cost to move the servo, because if we're going to do this, if we're going to build what is hopefully one of the world's most capable CJs, as it's going to have the full CJ on this build, let's try to save a little bit of money. My buddy has already sunk, like, if you just add this up, it's a lot. It's a real lot. And there's titanium links in the bin. So, everyone has seen me pull a twin apart more than once. I never know how much people want to see. I don't organize anything. I don't categorize anything. I just start pulling screws apart. You need to pull these screws out to get the top part off. So, as I said, ambitious to say that I'm even going to get the gearbox on the skid. Because I also have to disassemble and completely reassemble the gearbox. It is lightly greased. It is lightly greased. What I am noticing, perhaps the quantity of grease in the bottom end is higher because that is the most resistance. I know it's impossible to translate how hard I'm turning that hard. This, yeah, there's a lot of gears that it has to go through, but, well, now I just want to pull the rest of the thing apart. Are we looking at a lot of grease? What are we looking at? And I learned this when I did the BTA on the VRD. You've got to pull the whole gearbox apart. And this one's got front end gears, so I definitely have to pull the whole gearbox apart. Is this not the beauty of RTRs that we didn't want? In that it's a kit. It's a kit with way more steps. This is a kit twice. You have to both take it apart and then put it back together with with a variety of different pieces. So ordinarily on these, when you're talking RTRs, ordinarily these set screws will be dialed down and it will lock it out. I don't remember loosening these, but I must have loosened them because neither are engaged. There's a real proper lot of resistance there. I am anxious to see how much Vanquish blue grease is in there. I could not do this manually, nor would I choose to. All right, now we pull the pin, because we got to pull the whole thing apart anyway. Here's the OD link. It's pretty bluey. We've definitely got some blue. Let's get this over here. Pull the dig linkage. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. On the center, there's a spacer on the center shaft. I don't know how it'll show. It's just full of grease. It's full of grease. Which, I got to give them props for that. More often than not, when you're talking about an RTR, you get a wisp, a delicate wisp of grease, and they spared no expense on this grease. Of course, this thing was assembled by someone using air tools. Like, you shouldn't hear the clutch going brr, 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 brr when you're taking one of those cross pins out. But here we are. I feel like I'm missing one. What am I missing? I can pull the VFD apart in a minute. Ah, yeah. Forgot that little bottom guy. Now, the upside to us working on Vanquish is I don't have to worry about replacing the hardware. The hardware is absolutely fine. I want everything to stay on the low side so I can get a look at the gears and whatnot. Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. It's not over greased. To me, it strikes me as greased after the gearbox was assembled because most of the grease is not on the teeth. Most of the grease is in the slider for the overdrive and stuck onto this center shaft, which is all getting... None of this gets reused in the hardened gears. You can kind of see it through the plastic. I guess we could take it out of the plastic for purposes of elimination. It all comes as one piece. If you open your bag, there of course is a bag inside of that bag. Hey, this one doesn't have a square cut in it. I guess the machine remembered to put everything in all at once. So that whole unit just gets replaced with this machine guy. So that's nice. That's nice. We'll have more Vanquish gears to add to the bin. But what I would like to point out is that this rotates far, like so much more freely than it did a moment ago. And that, my guess is, as soon as I pulled this off, we really had a reduction in, there's, even on the gear reduction, the effort has been reduced by 90%. So it is either shimmed incorrectly, something was done during the assembly that made the gearbox not 100. It's got a little bit of a problem. It won't, after we put it together, we'll replace all of the gears on here. It's a lot of blue. We will replace this shaft in its entirety. I put my fingers straight in the blue on that one. I have to pull it apart the rest of the way to get to the top, because you have to. Okay, for those who haven't been here, we'll take you along a little bit further. So we have an intermediate shaft. Okay, let me pop this screw. This is so I don't forget. This big guy is the retainer for the bearing holder. That's the one thing that my buddy, I think, neglected to order. And I thought he'd ordered everything. Yes, the RTRs don't come with the aluminum bearing carriers, but I would like to point out that it absolutely does not matter. If anything, so I'm talking about this little guy with the 4 holes in it. The aluminum one, the holes tend to be pretty close to the size of the bearing, but particularly when you try to install this one, because you have to drop it down in that way, all the bearings fall out, so you have to try to slide it in this way and then put the dig retainer in there. The plastic ones, the bearings fit like interference fit. They fit nice and tight. So honestly, I kind of prefer the plastic ones. So to get to the front gear set, we have to get this shaft out, because we have to get this shaft out, which means taking off not 1, but 2 E-clips, so that we can slide this gear back, so that we can get this pin off. This is it's like building a clock. Building a twin is like building a clock. We'll turn this, we'll pull this out. We don't, they use multiple different lengths of pins, so don't get your pins mixed up. Then we can pull the bearing retainer out, or jostle the bearing retainer out. I'm gonna have to go to something to grab it, and I don't want to squish it. There we go. We have to pull that bearing retainer out, because there's the little Heidi boy screw under there. So we change bits again. You need all 3. You need the 1.5, the 2, and the 2.5 to get the gearbox apart. We take that inner hidden screw out, and then we can pull the back off. And now we've got to the main gear. And there's a little bit of grease on the face of the main gear, and I get like if somebody was wearing sunblock and you rub their arm, that's about the feeling of greasing you get on this. So, it's just not greased. And then we can pop the top shaft. Yeah, there's where all the grease was. Like they splurted some grease inside the housing and then just stuck the gear in. So, as one would expect, so yeah, this pin and the pin that I pulled out a moment ago are slightly different sizes. And I also just noticed we're going to fly by the edge of our pants. Maybe not the seat, but the edge. There is a ledge that the bearing sits up against. There is a ledge. And we won't have that ledge, because I'm going to have to drill another hole through here. We get the carbide for that. And then I'm going to have to cut the back of this off. I don't think it's going to be a problem. I also don't have any tooling that is sophisticated enough to put a land in the shaft to add an E-clip to it, we're just going to let it fly. Because I run a massive number of 3-gear boxes that don't have that little land. It's just a smooth shaft. And sure, yeah, you get a little bit of fore to aft play. That's what shims are for. So this will be fun. I need to collect my thoughts because we need to semi-assemble this box. Basically, the plastics with the top shaft in place to see how much shorter the top shaft needs to be. And then I have one shot at drilling a hole in this for the cross pin for the top gear. We get it wrong, we're not actually out anything. I reach up here, my phone is on a dual mount with the camera. I order a twin. I order a behind the axle kit, the Stubby. I ordered a Stubby kit, which will have the new shaft, and then we'll have to source a slipper eliminator, and then it cascades on and on. So I have one hole to drill to save $80. So that's an $80 hole, and we have multiple, like everything else, we have multiple opportunities to ruin this. I can cut it to, I am gonna cut this thing overly long, probably more than once, and probably grind most of it away, being careful not to overheat it and blow any temper out of it, because I don't want to have the pins snap through the shaft. We are gonna see what we end up with. Here's what I'll do. I will get this mounted so that we can try to dry fit this. I got to figure out what pieces need to go in to be able to dry fit this. Yeah. So, of course, what we do is we throw in a couple screws, 2 screws here, screw through the bottom, and we see that the way the Zoku works is now, like, okay, I don't know if I can show it. There's the output hole up there, and here's the output hole down here. So when it's in place, it's angled like that, right? Just like how the skid... It's right here. I'm doing that thing again. So the skid on this has a dip that goes up right like that. So it rubs. There's a big, probably like a 5mm spacer in between the skid. I don't know if I can show. There it is. This little boy right here. Because otherwise the motor rubs violently on the bottom skid. So this has a curve, a bend to it. So it not having that kick, it shouldn't rub. Fingers crossed. So what we do then is we're trying to push it with our hands, and we're trying to measure and be like, I think it's about that long. And then we remember that this is sitting right over down at the end of the bench. And we put a ruler on it just like this, and we go, oh, the top shafts are 38mm long. Yes, they are. They are 37. Does that inset? No, it does not inset. So they are 37mm long. I am thankful that I remeasured that here with all of you. So what do we do? We take these over to the lathe, and what we do is we measure how long are these. They are 61.5mm long. So they need to be 37. Did it look like 37.5 to anybody else? This is the level of precision to which we operate. 35, 36, no, it is 30, it's 37 dead. I'm getting 37 dead. So we're 61.5, double check. 61.5 minus 37 is 24.5. So we will set this to 24mm. This is how high-tech we operate here. We'll set this as close as possible to... I'll take 2401. We're going to chuck this up in the lathe so we retain the part that says Vanquish on it. Is it too long? No. So this will be chucked up in the lathe like this. I will make a mark. I will part this off. I will clean up the end. I will retap the inside. I will do it a second time, and we will have made 2 standoffs, which, again, this is, again, a low-risk operation because if I mess these up, I can make more. Also, we're gonna have to order that behind the axle kit to get that little. There's a little like L-shaped bracket which attaches this. It goes through these two holes right here to attach to the axle. So there you go. But if we can avoid not having to buy the other parts for this, then I guess we're coming out ahead. I don't know at this point. It's more of a thought exercise. Can we do it? Can we do it? 37 millimeters. We get nearly infinite opportunities to mess it up, and we have one chance to get it right. Let's see where we end up. It's fairly straightforward. We made the mark. We drilled the holes. It looks straight. There's a little parallax, but okay, this is the important part. There's the bearing straight through the hole. If we can look right down the barrel of the gun, we're probably about there. And if we set this into the one bearing, yeah, we're pretty close. This is where the eye lies. The eye will lie. It definitely looks like the bottom is kicked out more to me. But then, if I hold it at arm's length like this and I look at it, it doesn't look like the bottom is kicked out. I don't know. I did it to 37. Maybe it needed to be 38. That's what shims are for, baby. So, if we have to, we can shim it out. It looks pretty close. The negative that we're arriving at right now is once again brought about by this little fella, the little ridge, the bearing ridge, because I'm looking at this guy from above. This is basically what we're trying to replicate. So this guy goes right behind the bearing. So it's right about there. So it'd be right there. Yeah, we're good. We're good there. Actually, no, it looks like it's far enough back now. When I'm trying to assemble it on this, trying to like mock it up, it was looking like this ridge was going to land right about where the bearing was. So I thought I was going to have to machine that off, but it doesn't look like I'm going to have to machine that off. We're going to fudge this. We're going to fudge this to the extreme, which is I am going to use the little land, which is because when the bearing is in, the bearing sits flush. So we're going to press this against the back like that, and we're going to use that as a determiner for where we need to drill the hole. It is highly unscientific, and we have one chance to make it work, and, you know, it might work. You know what? I need to second guess. No, there it is. Yeah, okay. I was like, wait a minute. Am I doing it wrong? Does this go on this side? Or does this go on... No, it can only fit on this side. This is most of what... For those sitting on the outside looking in, this is what most of bespoke fabrication looks like. We're just building parts to suit. For a second, I was like, but what if the bearing is on this side? Well, there's two little metal ridges. The bearing can't go on that side, dummy. It has to go that way. That's the only way it fits. So, we have that going for us. Now, I need to get this hole to position this top gear in pretty much the precise place, but moved forward X amount. I could do math, I guess, determine how far it's going to move, but more realistically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up like this, and I'm going to make a mark. Before I do that, I'm going to look at where the shaft... Oop, that's not great. I need that bearing in place. I need that bearing in place because we're going to go as deeply scientific as we can here. I have used silver Sharpie to make a mark. I just made a swipe, and then you can see in the middle of that, there's a little black mark, and that black mark is hopefully the center of the pinhole. We've got a little bit of leeway. We just don't want it too far that way, because that's not good. If it's a little too far this way, it just won't sit. The groove for the pin is fairly deep. It's much deeper than the pin. Probably a 4mm depth for a 2mm pin. Then we will meticulously, and by meticulously I mean we're going to guesstify. We will try to position a mark, and we will get the hole drilled, and then we will cut the tail of this off. And I can tell by the amount that it inserts, I can tell I will make a double mark, and I will know how deep to cut it so that it still engages the bearing. And then we're going to find out, we're going to put a spur gear on it, and we're going to put a motor on it, and we're going to see if it has load. I will be able to tell if I befouled it. But and here's the deal. This cut, the length of the shaft, if this is not square, because we had to cut these, and I've cut so many of these before and not had an issue. If it's not square, when we cut this to length, and if we have to shim this out, this will then be too short. And if it moves the pin, it would move the pin forward, which should probably be okay, maybe, but we're going to have this stopping us. It's another one chance to dance situation. Just buy the kit, guys. If you want to do this, just buy the kit. Whatever you do, don't do this. This is not a thing to do. I would say conservatively, we are off by about, well, let's go 0.15 millimeters. So we have this amount of, will this show? Not really. Not really. We have, well, you might be able to see the hole. Watch the hole. Beep, boop, beep. That's the total amount of fore aft we have. And no, 38 mil is the guy. It is dead centered, and we're going to have no clearance issue on the motor, unlike with the VRD skid. I think Zoku did more homework. That you can't get the motor in because the length of the shaft, the front plate has to be off. But it is going to clear, and we're not going to get any rubbing, which is fantastic. So now what has to be done is, oh, yes. Burying the lead again. There is definitely some work that goes into this top shaft. And I don't mean what has occurred here, which is 1,000% not recommended. Don't do this. Don't do this. Buy the kit. Put the parts on. Just accept that if you want behind the axle, it's this. What we've done here, I recommend to no one. Sometimes we do because we can, not because we should. So this all fits together. You will notice a little bit of a color differential. And that is because this is a 5x11x4 bearing that is seated in there. But 5x11 is not actually 5x11. The inner of the bearing is usually in the like 494 to 496 area. This guy's sitting in that 496, 497, right? We're asking a lot of a cheap Amazon caliper. So this is turned down to about that. Let me get a little 496 on there. The center of the shaft is 502. You are not fitting that. So this is 5mm, and it would have to be, I'm assuming it has to be machined to that, because we've got the little bearing land at right about 6, 597. So we have that 496 to fit a bearing. So I had to reduce this down from 502 to 496. Otherwise, it's not fitting in a bearing, because if we push the bearing on, it is tight. And that's as far, I'm hoping that I have enough shoulder turn. I don't want to get that bearing stuck. I might have gotten the bearing stuck. I'm going to have to knock that bearing off with a hammer. I'm going to have to take a little bit more off of there, because I don't quite think that it's in far enough for the pin to engage. Let me get a little brass hammer. I should just be able to Just tap that boy off. Oh. So I will take a little bit more off of that right up here where the shoulder is going to hit so that we can actually get it inserted. The most amazing part of this entire process, and I hope it exhibits correctly. Look at that. Look at that. It's straight. The pin is straight. Because you can mess it up on every axis. You can have it this way. You can have it, okay, so this way, lengthwise, longitudinally. You can have it off-center latitudinally. You can have it walk so that the hole is actually banana-shaped. Those short-stroke carbide bits, that's the only reason we got here. That's how we got here. Don't do this. This is a day of don't do this. So I'm going to finish this up the rest of the way to where I can just take one of these bearings and just slide it down to where the silver ends. Because otherwise, I'm not going to be able to, that's too close to the hole. We're not going to be able to insert. I will get that down the rest of the way. I will gather up the machine gears. I will slap, there we go. I will slap this bad dog together, re-grease it, and we will have a shorty VFD Twin, which is the whole reason that we're here. Get the motor mounted up to it, and then we will have that, and then, I don't know. Will we go farther? I don't know. We'll see how the timing works out, you know? Like, I said that my optimistic goal was to get this mounted to the skid, and by gum, by golly, we're going to do that. I've got a little bit more twiddling to do. I will get the gears put in. I will make sure, I will give commentary on any shimming that need be done. All of the gear packs always come with a little collection of shims, and we will see. I think there was one shim too many in here because this box felt tight. So, I'll see you in one shake of a blur. I had to pop in for a moment, grab the little tiny scale, the actual accurate one. So, these guys, this would basically be the flywheel, effectively. These two little gentlemen right here, which is the top shaft gear and the main gear, weigh 45.3 grams. They've been replaced with the lightweight front gear. The lightweight front gears, they're still machined, just lightweight gears. This apparatus, which includes the output shaft that goes into the gearbox, the input shaft that the spur gear mounts to the front, all the bearings and everything, weighs 55.6 grams, all inclusive. So we've dropped a not insignificant amount of weight off of the front end. And if we can avoid rotating mass, that is something that we want to do. Yeah, there's a little fore aft there. I am also, executive decision has been made. We're going all button head on this gearbox. If I only have to use 2 tools to assemble it, I opt for 2 tools rather than 3. I'm going to get the, let's put this guy in through the bottom so I can get the bearing retainer in. Every time I put a screw in, it is instinctive to give it a little twirl, make sure we're still okay. And that bearing isn't even supported. So if it feels pretty good like that, we're feeling pretty good. Get the other inserted. I'm going to have to get another button head. That is a 12. Got the whole bin right here behind me. They love their cap heads, and cap heads are great because they're a lot tougher to strip out. But I'm hoping not to have to do this again soon. Bearing retainer in place, and it's still feeling right smooth. We have got to put the rest of the gears in now, build up the shafts, and put the assemblies in. And again, I just keep tacking. And we are doing, of course, CV joint grease, which is my grease of choice. And that's all the CV joint grease I have left. I got to run errands this afternoon. Might be popping by the auto parts store to get another tube. This feels pretty good. So, I am going to get the back end of this put together. I will pop back in if there's anything to note. It's a VFD Twin. I think I have a full like hour-long video on how to build one of these, and none of the processes have changed to put in machine gears. You just put the parts in. So I'm going to just put the parts in. And again, a little blur. So I don't know what sort of entity was put in charge with assembling the VFD Twins for the RTR, but they should be relieved of that responsibility, because I don't specifically know what it was. I couldn't ID anything specifically during assembly or disassembly to flag it to me as improperly assembled, but by equal measure, when I was putting this together, as I said, I obsessively, every time a screw goes in, I check the gears. I want to make sure everything is still rotating smoothly. So I kept doing that. Then the final step is, once all of the shims are in, and we feel like we have the right amount of, there should be about 2 millimeters of play in that. There should be about 2 millimeters of play in that. We don't want anything locked down. It's so much more free spinning now, and that, mind you, is semi-cobbled. I eyeballed the spot to drill the hole for the shaft pin. Get that skid bolted in, and we have no interference because it's just touching on the part of the outrunner that doesn't rotate. So the Zoku part fits better than the Vanquish part because it's 3D printed, so it just has a nice curve. Whereas the VFD, which is still sitting right here, has a distinct step. And the motor, there isn't a millimeter of space there, and without that spacer installed, it rubs what I would classify as significantly. Also, I'm not going to just absolutely kerblast this together, so we're not going to murder any more parts. I am genuinely surprised to see the amount of galling on the slipper bits from how it was assembled. I mean, you can definitely see there's even a little warpage inside the hole. They went at this. And the inside of that part is supposed to be keyed. And I think most of the key is blown out. If not all of it. It's definitely difficult to... You kind of have to clock it to get it to set. I don't... There we go. Yeah, it is pretty galled out. Yeah, that hole is bigger than it should be. So, this is another reason RTRs are, in general, to be avoided. See, I use this to spin. That's a little loose. We'll use a cross pin to hold, and then we'll do the remainder manually. And I like to do it not with a wrench, but with a driver, because you can't exert the same amount of torque on a driver. I just want it like snug. That's about snug right there. And because we have the little bit of slack in it, that's how tight I'm going to go. There was no slipper action in here previously. I guarantee it. That thing was absolutely power torqued down. For setup purposes, I'm eyeballing the bin. They all come on a 15, just a Vanquish 15. I don't like the Vanquish 15 gears very much. There's a 14, 1800 and a 14. Maybe I would prefer a 15. That is a 16. It's an outrunner. Put a Robinson 16 on there. If we have clearance, I think I'm pretty much all the way down. And what do you know? Hey there, champ. That is a perfect. Here's the problem with gear bin. I have gears in here from various eras. So this is an older Robinson pinion, and you will notice I am using a 1/16 inch because some of the older ones use standard hardware for the set screws, and you don't put a 1.5 in there. You'll strip it out. So we get that set, and we are at maximum gearing. I didn't even adjust it, and that is, again, so much smoother than how it came out of the box. Oh, it dropped down a little bit. All right. We'll do the exciting part of setting gear mesh. Oh, it was much closer, and then I pushed it up. We're gonna hope we luck in. No, pulled it out. 99% of gear noise comes from mesh. This is where I like to set mesh. Never do you not want to be able to see, I need something sharp. Never do you not want to be able to see that daylight right there above the pinion tooth. That is what you want right there. It's a little more difficult to set on 48 pitch because the tooth height is, I don't know, maybe less than half of what it is in 32 pitch. But 32 pitch gear mesh is really easy to set. This is going to be a smooth boy. There is a short, and you see the S20 is like perfect for this because it's like a 35-30. You can get a 35-32 in there, no problem. We've got about 5 millimeters behind the back of it. But 35-42, stuff like that is out of the question. If you're going to do this, my recommendation is to just go with an S20, to go with a Rhino Crawler S20. And I believe that the Holmes, the new V3s, are just this motor. They are startlingly similar. I don't know if they're the exact same thing, but they are very similar. So this guy is ready. Overdrive shifts, super easy. Dig actuates, great. I mean, there you go. And now we've got, I'm assembling, I have a little bin over here. I'm assembling a bin of stuff for the parts washer, for the ultrasonic cleaner, because those are all going to have to get thrown into the gearbox misc bin, because at some point in the future, who knows, I might build another gearbox from scratch, and we're definitely accumulating some bits and bobs here. A lot of Vanquish. I think it's the third set, either the third set or the fourth set of machined, at least machined back half. That's the second machined front set I've put in, but the third or fourth machined set in the back half. So we're building a selection of gears. You know, this went, yeah, and once it's, oh, that pinion is not right. I didn't pay attention to how far out it was. We're going to go right in the middle. So yeah, mesh this way is the most important, but mesh this way is also not to be discounted, particularly if you're running a small gear. A 16 is pretty big. If you're running something small, 10, 11, 12, God forbid, 9, the set screw, the top of the set screw is going to stick out to where the teeth are, and in 48 pitch even more so. So the placement, where these two meet is even more critical, because if you get that set screw up a little close, that thing will bite the teeth right off of your spur gear. Stubby VFD Twin, soon to be mounted in a Zoku chassis. I have already made the mental notes. Oh, let me tell you something though. It's getting so bad. Like, I replaced all of the cap heads with button heads. Just, I don't know, just because. And I am accumulating an absolute bin. And then on one day, I'll be in here just doing the full tinker, and I'll have to go through it. And here's even more still. I'll have to go through that whole thing and sort all of those screws out. It's a blast. Actually, you know what? I get in a mindset of it, and I sounded too facetious when I first said it. It kind of is a blast. Like I'm kind of down for that sort of get the tweezers out, start doing stuff like this, get it all sorted. That's where we'll do. Did you notice this stark lack of M3x22s? McMaster doesn't sell M3x22s. So a lot of places where there probably should be a 22, I'm using a 20 because I don't have any choice. It kills me that I'm going to have to go in there and I'm going to have to order a stubby kit just for that little, because it will have the bracket piece to attach to this. I don't know why I would have assumed that Vanquish would include it. That was foolhardy at best. But yeah, that bolts to that screw. Then you use a longer screw there to hold that on. All right, before I order it, does anyone in the comments think that we can get away without it? Do we think we can get away without it? Actually, I think it's a piece that goes over here. Oh, I'm doing it again. So, okay, so the plastic piece is just huge, but the piece that I'm referring to is this little truss boy right here. There's the two screw holes vertically. Yep. There's the two screw holes, and then it mounts to this lower point down here. Now, is that a belt and suspenders issue? Before I spend 50 bucks for no reason. Do you all out there think, okay, that is a 10. We are going to need at least a 12, probably a 14. Does anyone out there in TV land think, let's use a 12 for right now, as I'm afraid of over penetration. Can we get away without that bracket? Is basically what I'm asking. So anyone out there with first-hand experience, I mean, you know, with that screw and that screw, we are aluminum on aluminum. I don't want to get reckless, but somebody, basically what I'm asking you to do here is talk me into it. Leave this, yeah, there's a little slot. We'll slap this. We'll slap this under here. I just want to see what it looks like. I want to feel. Do I need to spend 50 bucks for that little plastic piece? Or alternately, I don't want it to sound like I'm begging, but if you're out there in the land and you did the stubby, no, if you did the stubby, you're doing BTA. That's the only reason you would do it. I mean, I guess somebody might have done. Is there a solitary soul out there that did stubby but didn't do behind the axle? So, two-part question. Or alternately, do you think that I could successfully? I made front motor mounts adapters for the 10.3. Does anybody think that I could just basically make an ugly triangle to go down there? It will double kill me to have a plastic piece back there. Yeah, that is going to be some clearance, though. That is going to be no problem at all. The cheap part of me is like, that'll be fine, dude. Like, no problems, dude. You should be, like, totally good, dude. That is totally the mount for servo on axle and not BTA. So I'll have to fabricate a new one for that. And then I'm going to have to find some kind of silver servo horn. Otherwise, he's going to go crazy. And we will get this slapped together, men. I'm feeling more positive now, having seen it like that. I maintain if anybody has that piece or a line on, does Vanquish make that piece in aluminum? Anyway, hit me in the comments. I want to wheel so bad. I want to drive a car outside, and it is muck. So we do what we do. We did what we did. Was anyone surprised? Did you have full confidence the whole time, or were you surprised that not only did we get the hole in the right place, but the damn thing is square and the mesh is good and the shaft, it spins smoother than it did out of the box with a motor attached. There is less resistance right now than when I was just twirling the shaft with it half disassembled. So we've definitely improved that. I hope that your day is either excellent or improving. We all look forward to seeing you in the next one. If you ever wonder what the little hum is, here is TMI. Tune away now. Be sure to have a good one. Do your very best until we meet again next time. The TMI portion here in the last 5 seconds in the Midwest Goodbye. There is something wrong with not my big toe, the toe next to my big toe on my left foot. It's an angry toe, and I am doing my homeopathic experiment, which is don't wear shoes. I haven't worn a shoe other than a flip-flop in over a week, and it's been raining the whole time, so I get to wear flip-flops in the rain, but it feels less angry. So I have my little heater down at the floor just blowing heat on my feet. It's the only way I survive. It's how we made it through this. When I have to walk over to the other spot where all the tools live and do work, then I run back over here so that I can get more heat on my feet. I have self-diagnosed Raynaud's. I have ice cold. Is it here? Is it here? Does it have a battery in it? Yeah. Will this show up on the thing? Just like, I mean, if you go to a spot where you're a human, I have ice cold hands. I have the hands of a dead person. I have shined this on my fingers when working out here in the winter, and my fingertips are 40 degrees. And my toes are not any different. This is America. We don't go to the doctor unless a bone is sticking out. So the self-diagnosis is don't wear shoes, aim a heater at my feet. God, I want to drive so bad. The next video, I don't care what it looks like outside. It's supposed to clear up, and if it doesn't, I'm driving anyway. We're going to grab a rig and we're going to drive in the next installment, whatever that might be. Even if I can't get testing in, we might just drive. I'll sit on a bucket chair and just drive for like a half an hour. It'll be great. You know what? I'm almost looking forward to that. So, hit me up in the comments. Let me know in the meantime. Oh, let's put this away so we don't lose it. I will see you one and all in the next one. I thank you for joining us here at the Canyon, where we ramble. Sometimes we rant. I'm on a high today, though. I feel pretty. You know what? I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good today. So I hope you all do as well. Tune in for the next one. Comment below, like, subscribe, etc., etc., etc. All the usual schlemazel. And we out.